Good evening, Property Development Australia. How are we all doing? We've got Tony joining us this evening. Who's here today? Have we thought of some comments, questions that we have? I know Mark had a question about return. Hi Peter, how you doing? There you are, Tony. Let me add you in. There we go. Adding. How have y'all been? It's back to school in New South Wales. How are you going, Tony? Oh, I should
Cheryl, how are you? Yes,
Good.
put those on.
Should put these on. Give me a moment. I was charging them up, so
That's all right.
bear with me for a second while I.
That's okay. You had a good week?
I've had a great week. I've had an interesting week. I did have some challenges.
Right.
Been able to work through them. Did a lot of reflecting, self-reflection. We've talked a lot about sort of our goals and also the things that we value in our lives and why we do what we want to do. And I did quite a little bit of that. I was able to make some decisions around that.
Perfect. Anything I can help you with tonight?
Oh, I mean, one of the things we addressed last week was limiting beliefs.
Yes.
So one of the limiting beliefs, and sometimes we don't realize they're limiting beliefs, and it could be, like you said, fears, and they could come up as rational fears. It could be, what if I don't, what if I don't earn enough to pay off the mortgage? What if I don't, all the what ifs, right? And come up and become possible reasons that seem logical reasons to not pursue the things that you want in life. And yeah, so it was one of those. It was a journey. I have to say that I've had to go through in the last week. And I can't say. I mean, we all go through this. Whether it's to do with projects or deals or whatever it might be, or business, or even looking for a new job, or quitting your job. Right? That's always a difficult decision to make. And I have to say, I spent quite a bit of time meditating. I know this, and that really helped me, because a lot. I mean, I meditation for me is really keeping in tune with my own intuition and what sits right with me.
Yeah, sure.
And often I'll just wait for this.
And so it's all about meditation. I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me. Oh,
no, I can
sorry.
now. I can now. I couldn't there for a moment. So meditation is all around getting centered. Yeah. And so when we look back, we tend to get depressed. And when we look too far forward, at times we tend to get anxious. And so if you're feeling either of those or experiencing either of those feelings, then when you get centered, when you meditate, you get yourself nice and centered. And so I practice what's called mindfulness meditation, which is all around concentrating on the here and now, effectively stopping and smelling the roses, as they used to say.
Correct. And being in the present.
Yeah, correct. That's it.
So I was able to work through that, and definitely that whole mindfulness and being in the now was able to sort of help me work through, and take it to the next stage, and almost like a leap of faith. So here we are now, and I said I always say everything in life is a learning or a blessing, and sometimes in the moment it may seem quite hard, and I'm not talking whether it's my situation. It may seem quite difficult at times, or it's it's a problem. But I often like to think that things are a blessing in disguise, and is a blessing in disguise if you choose to, and you have the ability to choose how you want to deal with it. And that's that. Hi Jim, how you doing? And that's sort of how I work around.
It's all based on perspective, right? So two people could look at the same thing and see it very differently. And so some people could look at what you're describing and see that as a huge problem and an obstacle that I can't work my way through. It's too big and it's going to beat me. And others see it as a small little speed hump we've got to go over the speed hump, but it's a speed hump because on the other side of the speed hump it takes me closer to my goal. So it happens all the time where people can see the exact same thing, but based on their perspective, see it very differently. So for you, it sounds like you had a few little speed humps. That's cool. You got over them, and you want to recognize the fact that you got over them. And so now you've built some additional resilience along the way. So you're a little bit stronger for doing that. And now you're ready to tackle the next speed hump because it's inevitable. So it's around the corner. I don't know what it's going to be, but it'll be there. And it's all about you now preparing yourself for the next one because, you've got to get through that to get closer to achieving your goal.
Exactly. And because you've been through the speed hump, you put on bigger wheels, better suspension, and then you can tackle the next speed hump a lot better. But then the next speed hump might be a different variant, right? So it's
Could be.
Being able to be versatile and move along with what life really throws at you.
It's the universe's test as well, Cheryl. So the universe is constantly testing all of us and seeing how serious we are, and if we're fair dinkum about our goals, and it puts out little things in front of us. And if we're serious about our goals, then we'll crash right through them. And if we're not that serious about our goals, then it'll beat us and we'll move on to the next thing. So, I'm a big believer in that. And it's about being consistent and persistent and determined and, all the things that, we keep saying here week in, week out. And I keep saying, multiple times throughout the course of the day to all of my clients, it's you've just got to be consistent, persistent, and it'll happen. It will happen. I bet you've got to stick with it long enough. And I had a session this afternoon with a client, and it was all around persistency and consistency, and that when this individual sticks with something long enough, then she's going to succeed. And in fact, I also reflect on my JV partner who's 30 years older than me. He often talks about the fact that you stick at property development long enough because what happens is your competition will drop away beside you, so other developers will drop away because it gets too hard. And so the mere fact that you've hung in there is means that in the end you're going to be successful. So I don't entirely subscribe to his line of thinking, but what I do, but his point is that stick with something long enough, and whether it be property development or business or relationships or health and wellness and we could go on and on and on. It's no different.
Yeah.
Righto. Now, is that what we're going to talk about tonight? Did we get any questions during the week?
Got questions, and I'm not sure what's happening with these, but I think I've used them up too much today, so let me charge them up a little bit.
I can hear you okay.
Scott has said, I've been attempting to meditate in the mornings, but I'm a little unsure if it's supposed to be focusing on nothing to clear the mind or focusing on specific aspects of my life. Tony, do you want to share your experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, sure. So I'm very, when you get to know me, I'm very simple in my approach. I'm a simple country kid, and my approach is about I concentrate on my breathing, and that's it. And so I get comfortable, sitting down, put my hands on my lap, just rest them on my lap, and I concentrate on breathing, and in through the nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And that's my version of it. And that keeps me nice and centered. So what I do is, because I'm doing this in the morning, is I'll get my phone, I'll set the timer, the countdown timer, and I'll set it for a couple of minutes, and I'll hit start, and I'll throw the phone on the couch beside me, get comfy, and just start concentrating on my breathing. And it's like anything. Start off, I'd encourage you to maybe start off for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, because what will happen is you'll get these thoughts come across, and it's like, oh, I need to get that from the shops, and oh, I've got to call that person, and so you want to, when those thoughts come in, perhaps early on, you just want to go, okay, if I can just get through 10 seconds of concentrating on my breath, awesome. Tomorrow, guess what? I'm doing 20 seconds. And guess what? The next day I'm doing 30, and just build the muscle. And then as these thoughts come across, you want to concentrate on batting them away so you can just focus on getting centered. And like I said before, it's all around not focusing on the past and getting upset or depressed about what could have been, should have been, etc., and not getting too worked up about some anxious moments into the future, just bringing yourself nice and centered. So that's my approach to it. That seems to work for me, but look, there's many other different types of meditation. People will, try and look at a sort of form of visualization to meditation. I do visualization. I don't call it meditation, but people, it's, what is it? Transcendental meditation is another form, but I just do mindfulness meditation.